All right, everybody, welcome back. I got a little bit of a different video for everybody. I've been talking a lot about PvP recently. Some people have asked for my thoughts on how I'm kind of doing things because I have a different style, I guess, that may at times seem conflicting to people. So I just kind of wanted to go over what I'm gonna do this GAC, and hopefully that can help provide some illumination as to what you can do during your GAC. I guarantee no results. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who you're going to face. I don't know what you have exactly. I don't know what I'm going to face. I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of results. Also don't know how much time I'm going to invest in my matches, right? So again, I guarantee no results, but if you want to, you can play along with me, do the best you can. Hopefully this helps you in some way. Maybe it buys you back some time. Maybe it helps you, kind of take the foot off the pedal in terms of GAC and the competitiveness. But we'll see how it goes. So essentially what I'm going to do is just going to go over my GAC plan, how I'm deciding what teams to use for that GAC plan, and then leaving you guys with some easy teams to use for the rest of the season, the 3v3 season. So, okay, so we're going to start by going over to the Galactic Arena, the Grand Arena. I don't know what Galactic Arena, Grand Arena. Kyber 2. Your results are going to vary depending on where you're at, right? You're also going to vary a little bit depending on your Omicrons and things like that. Just as a disclaimer, I do not have Datacrons. Give you an idea of what my Datacrons look like. Oh, I need a member. This is the Datacron that I have. So I'm completely out this season. If you have Datacrons, then maybe you'll still be able to use this and fare a little bit better. Just adding Datacrons is going to help these teams hold probably over what they're going to do for me. But my goal is a little bit different. So I have everything cleared out here so that we can efficiently place things without running into I have to delete other squads to play certain squads. My goal as a defense this season is to set teams that hopefully get holds. Ideally, they get a hold and the opponent stops playing. That's the best type of matchup. Then I can come in the last 30 minutes and just hit as many battles as I can, or even put in one sometimes and just win the match. My goal is to just do the best I can with the minimal amount of effort. And to do that, I kind of want to get holds. If I put a lot of weak defensive teams on my front wall, right, and let them like clear things, then I'm gonna have to have a lot more matches where I'm putting in work because they see an easy clear, they go for the easy clear, and then I have to match them in efficiency. That's the exact opposite I want to do. So we're gonna go strong defense, pretty strong defense. We're gonna keep a couple things back just so that we can have quick options to clear, but the goal in general is to set up some pretty strong defensive teams. So the way we're going to establish which teams we want to use on our defense, and particularly our front walls, because if they make it through, it doesn't really matter too much. But the front walls, we're going to go over to insights on swgoh.gg. Now, I understand that many of you might not have this. It might seem a little contradictory to go ahead and pay for this when I'm taking it easy in GAC. I'm not paying for this. So we get this free of charge for being in the guild with the web admin. So if you have the opportunity in the future to apply to Black Sun Heroes, then maybe that's something you want to do so you can get free insights. It is a nifty little perk, and it definitely helps his guild members stay at the top of the leaderboards. So I think that's why he does it. So, and anyways, I'm going to go ahead and share some results that I found and how I'm going to use these results to my benefit. Okay. So to start, what we're doing, if you have insights, you can do this too. We're searching for hold percentage rather than win percentage, right? So we go ahead, instead of win percentage, which it default sorts by, we're clicking hold percentage. Okay. And then we're doing sort by percent hold, not battles, because the default is battles. we don't care about what has been shown the most times. We are interested in what is holding the most, right? We're taking out cleanups because cleanups doesn't really help us decide what is going to get a hold on defense. It just shows us, you know, with cleanups, what's holding and stuff. So we need to go ahead and take that out and account for that. And then we're also going to put in a minimum number of battles. I put in 100. If you want to have a different number, like you want some more examples of efficacy, right? If you want a higher amount of battles before you trust it, then you would put, say, 500 in here or 1,000, right? The reason why we don't leave it blank is because this is what happens. You get something, oh, this did hold, but it held for only 8 battles, probably in a tier that didn't make much sense, right? So that's why we don't do that. So let's see, take all that off. Actually go back. So that is the point in terms of why we go ahead and put a minimum battles on it of 100. Like I said, you could do 500, you could do 1,000, whatever you feel comfortable with, right? And then we're going to also, a key thing for me that I'm going to do is put has defending Datacron to no. You don't have to do this if you have Datacrons and you want more relevant pictures to you of teams with Datacrons, but I'm taking all the Datacrons out. This is also a reason that I'm setting my minimum battles to 100, because by taking out Datacrons in Kyber, I'm taking out a lot of the examples of defense. So if I'm just not going to have thousands of battles in a lot of these defensive matchups. So that kind of sets the alignment in terms of what you want to set your filters to. Now from here, what we're going to do is kind of look through what the top defensive holds are, or what top defensive teams that are getting the most holds are, right? So this is actually an interesting one that I think could trip people up. I'm going to do it to open this season just because I want to see what it does to people, and if it does get me any holds. It held at a high percentage, but it's only 126 battles, right? So when we get in here and we look at the number of times this held against what, we have a little bit of a weird picture because it actually didn't face certain matchups that often, right? So like this isn't necessarily a good understanding of what it does if it's only 3 battles or 2 battles or 1 battles, right? But when we start to scroll down, we can look at when did it start to fall off a little bit. Well, when they introduced Balin, because we have an Ahsoka on our team ultimately. But even still, 22 battles, it held 90% of the time, right? So it gets a large amount of holds. The times that this fell were to Lord Vader and Darth Bane. If they use that to counter JMK and Ezra, I think that's probably pretty fine. That's 2 counters they could be using. This one is a little concerning, but again, it's only 1 time, right? And we look at it. So no Omicrons on Ezra. So that doesn't really paint the best picture. So that's some of the problems that you run into with less data points, only having that 100 battles. But all in all, I want to see if this works. So I'm going to be running this defense this time. Okay, so we go over to the game real quick and go ahead and set that. I'm going to set it in the bottom wall. Now, the reason why we're setting it in the bottom wall is because in threes, the bottom 2 sectors are worth more points combined, right? Because you have 5 battles here, 5 battles here, and then the conquer the territory is worth 260. Whereas up here, you only have 1 of those territories, and then you have it's worth 219 and you only have 3 battles. So all in all, the bottom 2 territories, if they make it through those, is worth more points than making it through the top one in the fleets. So that's why we're going to set the hardest defenses or the best defenses on the bottom zone, right? And then I already have these squads set up in my squads tab. So we're going to go ahead and set that. Again, no Datacron, so makes life a little bit easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back over to insights, and we're going to look down at the next one that we're doing. Now, we're coming off the heels of a season where Ray had the focused Datacron, right? But remember, we filtered out the Datacrons, so there's no Datacrons on this team, and SLKR still held 50% of the time. So I think in this case, especially with such a high amount of examples, that SLKR is probably better suited on defense than it is for me to have a tool on offense, right? So we're gonna go ahead and set SLKR. This is the best comp. When we look at SLKR, we can also sort down here by the lead, right? So when you sort this, it's gonna show you all the different variations of the comp. We've already sorted by hold percentage, so we know, but I'll just kind of illustrate what I'm talking about here. So if you sort by the lead, it shows you all the different variations of the comp. And as we can see, First Order Stormtrooper does pretty decent. That would be a good second alternative, but again, it has only 1/5 of the data points, maybe 1/6, and it's 8% less, right? And we don't really have a use for Kylo Ren Unmasked, if we don't put him on this team. So I don't have an issue putting him on this team. That's the team we're gonna go with. Okay. So swap back over. Add squad, and then I've already put this one in as well. And again, best defenses go on the bottom. We want to create a bottom wall, so if they are going to complete 2 zones, they're going to complete the top 2 zones, and then hopefully we have an opportunity to clear bottom, right, and get more points, or we can try to beat them on efficiency going top wise. So okay, going back over, we'll go ahead and scroll down the list. We obviously can't use a crew lead. It's a little bit of an interesting comp, still very low battles, but pretty interesting. But we can't use him because we're using there, and we'd want Star Killer for offense because that's going to be our Ray counter. This is why we're not using Seer right here, even though it's a good hold percentage. This is better suited for us being able to get through their Ray. And then another Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Now Ray, we would use this team, but we're using Ezra above in JMK, so we're going to have to put Ray on defense still. But the question becomes, what's the next Ray? That is the next best Ray defense, right? This is clearly one of the best ones. If the JMK with Ezra doesn't work after the first season, I will swap over to Ray, Ben, and Ezra instead, because I know that gets holds, right? So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and keep going. Bo-Katan is a good offensive option, but I think in this case she can trip people up more than she will help potentially in 3s, because usually it's much better to have her as an offensive option in 5s, right? So with only 3, I'm gonna go ahead and put her on defense. I've actually had some success when she first came out putting her on defense. She was a great person to have on defense. She got a lot of holds. People just didn't know how to play with her Omicrons. So for now, we're gonna go ahead and put her back there and see how it holds for us. And again, it's okay to not have all our offensive toys because we're not going for full clears. I mean, we can if we can try, but that's not the goal. We want quick in out, easy matchups. If we get full cleared, we're probably just gonna send a squad in, get our 10 to 75 points, and then call it a day. Okay, so next matchup, we could potentially not use C here because C can be a good offensive toy, but I think with 36% hold, even on 150 battles, this could be an interesting roadblock. The only way that I would use him is to either get a solo clear, or I would use him to take out like Galactic Legend of Ahsoka with some ads, not Ezra basically, right? But at this point, I could just use Balin if they're using a different Ahsoka, and Galactic Legend of Ahsoka kind of has a couple clears, and we're gonna keep Leia back too. So I'm not really too worried about it. So this time I'm gonna go ahead and try out C on defense and see how that plays for us. Again, I don't have to stick to this the entire season, but I'm gonna try it for this first round. So go over here again and go ahead and just copy the team. It's really easy. We don't have to pick the right Datacron or anything like that. We'll just go ahead and throw that in. Okay, and we got one more team to fill in here. So go back over. We got Bo-Katan, we got C, and then I think we'll probably put Rey, but for now we have Great Mothers, Death Trooper Peridia and Morgan Elspeth. I'm guessing that Morgan Elspeth has the Omicron in a lot of these. We can go ahead and check that to see what those battles are. Let's see, it looks like the battles in which they were holding, right? Most of the time they were holding against troopers. I'm not seeing any. Oh, here's a couple with Morgan Elspeth with the Omicron, but seems to hold without it as well. So probably pretty okay. And we can just go ahead and throw that one on there too. Okay, so we'll go back over there. Put that third one there. Now I have half a mind to put Rey on this bottom defense, but the thing is Rey without Ezra doesn't have as high of a hold percentage. So I'm okay with splitting it in this case. So we're gonna go ahead and pick the Night Sisters or the Great Mothers with Death Trooper Peridia and Morgan Elspeth, and then we're all filled up. Now we don't want to fill the back row. We want to fill the top row to give that option. We can put some tricks in the back row, but ultimately we want hopefully them just to get a hold anywhere and stop. It doesn't really matter. If we have an easy zone up front, then they're gonna try to take advantage of that. So we'll start filling up the top next. Go back over to Insights and then keep scrolling down, moving into another 35%. So we have some GLs up top too. We're gonna put Lord Vader up here with his clones. So we go back over to the game. Click add squad, select squad, and then Lord Vader and the clones. And we do have the Omicron on CX2. Oh yeah, we're not going out of here. Okay, back over to Insights. And then we're gonna use another GL on defense. Watt would go with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. However, as you can see, Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano has less of a hold rate than JML does with the Bastila lead. So Watt is better spent there. And when we go down, Watt with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, no Ezra is what that means, is actually very low rated. So you definitely want to put him with JML over putting him with something like Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, right? 21% hold. In this area, we actually start getting better holds by putting Watt with Trench. I think you can see it up here. Yeah, Watt with Trench gets 25%. Watch with Jango instead of Newt gets 26%. Again, these are low battles, but at the same time, I don't think there's a ton here. There's only 290 battles for Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. So overall, Watt's just better spent elsewhere. But that's a mistake a lot of people will make because they're like, Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano is a defensive GL. You got to support her. And if you're putting Ezra with Rey, then you got to put something with her. But it's kind of a fallacy. So go back over and we'll go ahead and put JML on defense. We also don't have a great use for him on offense anyway, so probably better served there. Okay, back over to Insights. And then we do see a Jabba the Hutt with Gamorrean Guard and Chrysanthemum. I don't know about this. It's very low in terms, it's exactly 100 battles. It's not really faced anything more than once or twice. I guess 24 on Wampa here, which held 66% of the time. It can be a thing where it lulls them into a false sense of security and they can win. I just don't know how reliable it is ultimately. But it seems like it would get holds. I think overall though, I don't have another use for Bouch Leia. So I think that's probably the more trusted comp. So I'm probably going to go with that one instead. So keep scrolling down here a little bit. We don't have Ezra, so we can't put that with Glat. And then this is the next Rey comp that is holding the most. So 31% compared to up here, it's 37%. So 6% decrease in drop, significantly less battles though to kind of dictate that, but still we're going to go ahead and use this as the next best thing. So we'll go ahead and go back over to the game, insert, add Rey, Ben, and Bear Selfie. And remember, again, this is not based on any Datacrons because we filtered out that. So with Datacrons, these would be a lot different, especially considering Bears had an Omicron last time, right? So the clones had Omicrons last time, or not Omicrons, Datacrons. The clones had Datacrons last time. Okay, so going back over, again, we can't use that Galactic Legend of Sokatana, RUC, Ray's gone. This is a little bit of an interesting Mandalorian comp. We're not using Bo-Katan or Paz Vizsla. Only 122 battles though. And we're kind of in the territory where everything's kind of similar a little bit in this regard. So we can go with different comps, right? Because like 28%, 0.95%, this comp makes a lot more sense than this comp, potentially. So I don't know necessarily the mechanics. It's not like I have Omicrons here or anything. And I do have a Relic 8 Canderous Ordo, which could be the difference maker versus these two. But let's go ahead and take a look just to see what kind of battles it was holding up against to. Again, nothing more than once or twice. But it was getting holds against things like Balin and Gungans, right? What was it losing to? It was losing to Jedi Knight Revan a little bit, not very well. We got some Afra here, Sith Empire, Star Killer. It did nothing against. I mean, it's losing to Wampa 66% of the time, so it only hold against Wampa once. That's not exactly the best, but I think a lot of things might lose to Wampa. Is this with the Datacron? Yeah, it is with the Datacron. So that's just going to be the reality. Unfortunately, Wampa Datacron was destroying a lot of things. So I think we'll hold off on using this small lineup. I don't really trust that too much. We want Traya on offense because she does great things. I don't think it's worth putting her on defense, and we also don't have Talon. One of the things that we do have though is we do have newly relic 9 Boba Fett, and we do have the Omicrons in order to make this team useful. And it held a surprisingly amount, about 28.82% in 1,138 battles. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on defense. And that could trip people up too, because they think it's one thing and then it turns out to be another. They don't really know how to play through that matchup. So it can catch people off guard a little bit. And then let's see if we did have a mall team set up here. Yeah, we did have a mall team set up, but I think we are going to go with these guys. When looking at the insights, we can go back over to the insights real quick and look at the mall leads. Right, so we had this one with Canderous instead of Gar Saxon. We scroll down here is when we get to Gar Saxon. So we have like a 6% rate of difference. And where I lost him. Oh no. Where'd he go? But we have substantially more battles. Rather than 100, we have 35 times the amount of the sample size to say that that is holding a little bit better. Will it get holds? Probably not. But we got to fill in the defense somewhere, so we can put that on the back. We don't have to put it right here. And then going back up to where we were at, a good hold, nearly 10,000 battles. You got Zalbar Omicron essentially with Darth Revan. So we're gonna go ahead and use that one up front. That could throw people into some chaos. Right there. Okay. So with that, our two front walls are kind of set. We got, what, 3 GLs in each front zone too. So we're pretty spread out, pretty good. So then we can start filling in the back line here. Backline is going to be some of those other things that we mentioned already. We're gonna go ahead and put in that mall team for one, and then let's go back over to insights. Scroll up. Okay, so we already got Maul, already got Zalbar. That's interesting that they went with Scorch over Oppo. Oppo doesn't die unless Lord Vader dies, unless there's a Galactic Legend. So that's a little bit of an interesting choice. We already got Bo-Katan down. Trench. My trench is not leveled, and we don't have Watt because Watt is with Jedi Master Luke. So that's out of the equation too. Leia, we are going to use for offense. She's much better there for now, I think. So let's see, I don't think she was up here, so she's not even like in the top GL holds either. So she's just not performing super well there. So we're gonna make sure to save her for offense, and she's gonna get us through some of those more tough encounters. Keep scrolling down. Okay, we do have a rebel team. Now we can use Mon Mothma with Captain Rex and Luthen, or we can use Saw with Captain Rex and Luthen. My Mon Mothma is only Relic 5. My my Saw is Omicron and is Relic 7. So when we scroll down here, look at the differential between the two, right? Saw is down here at 21%. That's with Kyle though, hold on. Saw with Luthen, 1,200 battles, 20% hold rate versus Mon Mothma, who is at a 25% rate with a couple hundred battles. So it's a little bit of a toss-up between the two. I think ultimately I have a better chance with Saw. I've usually gotten much more holds with Saw. I don't remember the last time I got a hold with Mon Mothma. So even though the data kind of shows that, I think I'm gonna go with Saw on this one. So swap back over to the game, add squad, and we've already got Saw put in. Because when we filter that Omicron, that could change things, right? So that's something to consider. And just kind of show you guys what that looks like, we can go ahead and filter over there. So 21%, nope, 20% hold rate. We'll view the battles, right? And then we'll put has defending Omicron, which is somewhere on this list. Defense Omis, right? So we can add the ones we have. We don't have the basic on Luthen, and that's pretty much the only one we don't have. So when we scroll back up, let's see if that changed anything in terms of the results. Yeah, see, much more holds, it looks like. It didn't hold against a lot of this stuff. Did that actually make it better? I don't know. 22% hold rate. So yes, it did. It went up to 22% versus the 20%, right? So if we go back and we take those off, let's see, Krex doesn't do anything here. Goes up to 23% without Krex's Omi, because we're not filtering out those battles where Krex was on the team but still won, right? When we start taking off Omicrons, see how it affects the rate. Take off Luthen's Omicrons, it goes back down. Take off his other one, it goes down again. And then you take off Saw's Omicron and it goes back down to 20%. So having that Saw Omicron there does change things. It doesn't quite get it up to the 24% that Mon Mothma was, but it does change it significantly. I feel more comfortable about it. So just to give you guys kind of an example. Okay, we're gonna go back. Kind of a little tutorial on how to use insights effectively as well. So, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and keep scrolling down now that we've got Luthen and Krex used with Saw. And then I have a newly Relic 9 Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. So we're gonna go ahead and throw him on there, but we're not gonna use this squad because we don't have Death Trooper Peridia, right? So we'll go ahead and scroll down, see what the next one. It would be Night Trooper and Death Trooper Peridia. Again, we can't use that. So we got to find another comp without him using Death Trooper Peridia, which I think is down here, right? With Scout Trooper. So go back over here. Add squad. Running out of things to use. So we're just going to use Night Trooper and Captain Enoch. Use that Relic 9 to our advantage. And then we have another one that's kind of escaped somewhere along the lines. Oh, you know what? Boosh was right on the same page. When we look at Jabba Boosh Chrysanthemum, 20% with 61,000 battles. A lot more data points. And then we can go in there, and what we can do is we can sort by the Omi. So we have 20% hold without anything applied. When we reduce that down to the defensive Omis, which is just Chrysanthemums, right? It does nothing to the hold percentage. I think it went down just a little bit. So take that for what you will. Sometimes it doesn't always help, right? Yeah, it went down a little bit. So some of these Omicrons are indeed wasted, just so you know. You always think it'll do something, but it doesn't actually help the matchup sometimes. Let's make sure we're on the right thing. Yep, we're still gonna put Jabba in, just because it's much more confident that's the counter, or that's the defense that holds, rather than the 100 battles with Gamorrean Guard and Chrysanthemum. So we'll go ahead and throw this one in. Set that. Okay, and then we need one more squad. And what did we decide on? Let me see if I can guess it. We're just scrolling past all the things that we've already used right now, which means we cannot use it for another team. Well, I know I didn't decide on using the the Wookiees. So let's go back over real quick and see what I decided on, because I think I decided on something a little bit out of the... Oh, you know what? I decided to put Glat there anyway, because Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano does not have any good... like, she's not good on offense. So she's not really helping me clear too much by being on offense, and it's just kind of a slow build anyway for her to kill anything. So we're gonna throw her on the back wall. We're gonna throw her with Huyang and General Syndulla rather than Padawan Sabine. I think that's probably the better bet. If we go back over to insights real quick, we can go ahead and sort by different comps, right? So we throw Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano on here, and we exclude Ezra because that's the big kicker. Let's exclude Watt too, because he's not going to be able to be used. And then this is what we're left with. So it is the best comp to use with Huyang and General Syndulla, but not by much. And there's a lot more data points for Sabine Wren. The thing is, Huyang can help Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano get to ult quicker, which ultimately I don't know actually does much. And you can see when we have more data points, substantially more, but it's even less of a hold rate. It's substantially less hold rate when we do Huyang and Padawan Sabine Wren, despite what people might think. I think this is largely because Fracture is so big in 3v3. So General Syndulla can Fracture, which leads it to being a 2v3 essentially for a round or two. So that's why we're going to go ahead and use that one ultimately, and that will round out our defense. Okay, I realize that a lot of people that are watching this video probably don't have all these GLs. So that's going to change things substantially on what you decide to use, right? I'm not going to cover all the offensive teams that I plan on using or having at my disposal in this video. This video is already going pretty long, and I'll save that for another video. You guys can watch that one if you want to. Hopefully you got some defenses that you can use out of this. Shoot, I don't know. I haven't been in the other leagues in a very long time. I don't know how many teams you're required to use. So you can remove some of the GLs as part of that. But to the extent that you don't have the GLs, right? What you can do is go back over and watch the video. I didn't cover them specifically, but you saw me scroll through all of these defensive teams without with the percentages right here. So you can look through yourself. You just have to scrub through the video and see what team is ultimately most relevant to you. And what I'll do right now, just to help out a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take off has attacking GL, or not has attacking GL, has defensive GL. So now we're going to sort that down by teams without GLs. And I'll go ahead and go through this real quick. Not going to cover each and every one, but just to give you an idea of what some of these hold rates look like last season for 3v teams without Datacrons and without GLs. Okay. So you can kind of make your decisions based off that. Again, I highly encourage you to use insights for yourself. If this is something you want to do or something you have access to, go ahead and use insights so that you can get an idea of what is actually holding rather than just kind of winging it, and whatever you decide to put down, right? Another thing to consider is that teams like this with Queen Amidala, yes, their hold percentage is low, but that's because the counter is closer to a for sure thing, right? But the counter that they use, say Bane for instance, uses up a counter there. So people are often using Bane, probably, if I had to guess, at the top of this list. Oh, that's surprising. I didn't know. Oh no, this is what's holding. So we'll change that a little bit to battles, and of course most of the battles are Bane and they wreck every time, but that means Bane can't be used for another counter. So the hold percentage isn't exactly everything. There's some other things to consider there. Just keep that in mind. Okay, with that, I hope you got usefulness out of this video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this, and hit the notification bell so you all know when it goes live. Hope this helped you. I'll be putting out more videos with offensive uses and some other things about GAC, just to kind of go over how I'm gonna play it. So expect more updates on my season results. Talk to you guys in the future. Bye.